Well, thank you so much for being here. We are with Cristián Freire in Chile, and we are with Hernando Bahamon in Bogota, and I'm Santiago Echeverry in Tampa, Florida, in sunny Tampa, Florida. And we are in a very interesting conversation and a very important historical moment for computer graphics in Latin America. And I'm extremely excited to be able to interview these two wonderful and talented young men. Cristián and Hernando, I'm going to start with you, Cristián. Can you please tell me how is it that you got involved with SIGGRAPH?
Well, yeah, in 2010, I attended to the first SIGGRAPH in my life. And I remember just wandering through the halls in Los Angeles. And I was very lucky that I found the Latin American community making a meeting there. And that's where I met Hernando. And in this very SIGGRAPH was the time that I realized that it was possible to form a chapter here in Santiago, and Hernando and all the people from Latin American community helped me, go ahead with the idea, and I was very lucky. It was sheer luck, and then passion and things.
Did you create the chapter for SIGGRAPH in Colombia?
Yes.
Or
yes.
What is
so,
it?
Yeah. So we again, this was all with my dad when we went to the first SIGGRAPH. He's always been a fan of conferences, and I remember him going to a meeting of how to start a chapter. And I remember telling him, like, we're never gonna be able to do a SIGGRAPH in Colombia. That's a crazy idea. But he pushed for it, and eventually when I came back, I started organizing it, and yeah, here we are. It's been already, next year is going to be the 10th year of the Bogota ACM SIGGRAPH Chapter event here in Colombia.
Wow. And Cristián, how long has been the chapter in Santiago been in action?
I think from 2013, that was the first mini conference. We have just one guest. Just one guest, but it was a deluxe guest. It was Paul de Bebec.
Yeah.
And now introduced me to Paul, and Paul was fantastic, and he came and gave one fantastic conference, but just one man show.
And then after that, what do you think was the result? Because it started with one person, and then now, how many people are there?
Yeah, well, and it varies in. Every year is different because we are supported by the government, by the Council of Arts.
Wow.
And that's where we get the money, but we have to apply every year. And some years we have more budget, and some years we have less budget, So because this is non-commercial, we don't charge for anything. We don't charge the tickets for the conferences or the master classes or the workshops. We don't charge. So all the money is led for the state puts the money, and we are kind of operators of that money. So so every year we have to apply, and this year we had 8 people.
Nice.
8 people and I think this is very good number. It's 2 days in Santiago, which is the capital city, and 2 days in Valparaiso.
Wow.
Which is a very beautiful place, and we have with 8, 7 is a very good number for us to manage, because we are just a chapter, like 4 people or 6 people, trying to manage the whole thing.
And Hernando, is there any kind of support from the government, or how is it that it's being handled in Colombia?
Yes, the first year it was sort of handled in alliance with the local convention center, with Corferias. Mm-hmm. The first year we did charge for the tickets to the event, but eventually the second year, the government, the Ministry of Technology approached us. They were starting an initiative called Colombia 4.0, where they wanted to sort of gather all the associations and events related to digital industries under one roof. So we became part of Colombia 4.0. We are the animation track, and so the government sponsors the whole event, and the admissions are free for people.
That is fascinating. And have you guys seen any kind of direct impact, like for example, in the amount of animations, or what is the measurable result out of having these chapters active in Santiago? And
We don't have metrics like serious like measurement, but we feel the community more integrated. We have something is called like production stations from Chilean studios opening for every international conference. So then we've seen like the interaction between the locals and the international guests, and sometimes it leads to some like commission job or something like that. I think that's a direct impact, but the whole thing is we feel the students and the industry are more in touch, and sometimes it may help to develop a more robust industry.
I think it's a combination of everything, but definitely the industry from the first SIGGRAPH that we did to now, it's a more mature industry. It's going to be 10 years next year, and I remember the first SIGGRAPH that we did still felt like people that did animation or animation projects still felt like very disconnected from each other, like people very on their own. Now you see these efforts, everyone knows each other, like the community's being stronger, and the quality of the work has been incredible. I mean, the first one, you saw some projects, but now there have been projects that have been appeared in Netflix or in Discovery Kids Latin America or festivals around the world. You do see the industry maturing a lot, and definitely, again, like Cristián said, it's hard to measure the impact at the moment, but I can tell you a couple of cases where the people that went to the first SIGGRAPH got inspired to take animation as a career, and they're now working in the best studios. A friend of mine, he went to the first SIGGRAPH. He was a designer, and it was there that he said, I can do animation, and he then went to SVA, and we usually like to invite as well like Colombians that are working in the industry around the world, and you see the excitement of them trying to do things with Colombia again. And there's been a couple of projects like that, and there's gonna keep going of projects. So it's been amazing, yeah.
The aim of this chapter is like to spread knowledge and to inspire. And Hernando said it right. Inspiring people is not measurable in numbers, but we see the impact in the inspiration, and in particular in Chile, which is a country that people doesn't go out too often in the last 30 years. We don't go to study to North America. We don't do that as much as Colombia or other countries up north. And the only chance they have to be face to face to the people they admire or some artists that they want to become like is occasions like that. So the inspiration, along with the knowledge, is very important for us, for our students and for our professionals, to believe that these things are possible for them. And like in Bogota's SIGGRAPH, the thing is, we try to bring people at least that speak Spanish, for them to relate more closely, to see like these are his color, blood, way of speaking is similar to mine. Why can't I, achieve my dreams too? And
exactly, right. I think it's getting the idea in the brain, like from the start, the main goal that we have is sort of demystify the industry. Like, again, when you're in Colombia and you don't see anyone around you doing animation, you think that's something that is way beyond you, that is magical, that is like unattainable. But once you start bringing the speakers in and people start to meet them and see that they're people and that they're people like them, they start getting the idea that they can also do it. Like even if you're in Colombia, you can also do animation. I think we're starting to see that. Like even like the first SIGGRAPH in Bogota, like the first Bogota ACM SIGGRAPH event, people, it felt, the atmosphere felt more like fans. They were like fans. They couldn't believe there was someone from Pixar, and it felt a lot like fans. Now the industry is more mature, and we see it also in the content that they ask for. Like at the beginning, most of the talks were about how to get into the industry or the trajectory of the people. Now, like I think we're past that, and the people want to hear talks, more technical talks, because they're already doing stuff. They're already sort of thinking in the industry. So it's not, you see that, like it's no longer something separated. I think people in Colombia feel it's something that it's attainable.
What is happening in Colombia and Chile regarding the education? Do you think that there's a growing field where local universities are finally catching up and training locals?
Yes, definitely. And well, I think it's a proof of that is that we're already having the first, like I think one of the first, I think there's one in Medellin and the first one in Bogota, to be like a bachelor degree in animation, opened like I think it's two years ago. I think that's proof of the importance of that animation is taking, because before that, usually we're in a very conservative society, so I think parents weren't very comfortable having their kids study something that they don't understand. So they usually tell them like, oh, study design, and then that's sort of similar. So people usually that were interested in animation ended up going to careers like design, industrial design or graphic design, but not, or audiovisual, but not animation. Now there's careers of animation. And now I think people are also more open to studying online courses on animation, like focused on that. So I think that's been changing too.
Well, it's not the same in Chile. We have like 8 animation programs in different universities and institutes. But I know the state of affairs in Colombia, but here in Chile, education is a massive business. Sometimes, it's not that we don't want people to learn, but institutions are all over, and we have lots of universities. And I believe in Chile we are like very early adopters of everything. Like we are like when you have a new trend in the world, I believe that here in Chile we are the first to adopt it. So good. I think the university I'm working at right now has a animation program from 13 years.
Wow.
Wow,
That's great.
Yeah.
It's old. It's very old.
Yeah.
And there are lots, and it's very hard to control that thing. It's not controllable at all. But there are lots of universities like accepting lots of people, like 150. I think there is one university that accepted for the first year, but they don't do any test or even of drawing or something like that, and you don't need a special test or whatever. So I think it's kind of dangerous, because it happened before with the graphic design here in Chile, that universities start to offer lots of places, and then the career was full, and all the graphic design went down because there were so many graphic designers on market. Yeah. So it was bad for the industry, for everyone, So we are kind of afraid right now that so many schools of animation not asking for anything like from the student, that maybe it will become, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's bad or good. Maybe it's good. Maybe.
You know what I
maybe,
think is the market. The market is going to make it. Whoever's going to be good is going to be good and is going to stand out from the crowd. And I belong to that school that says you don't really need to draw to create animation. How is it that your countries in Colombia and Chile, how is it that they're handling these not necessarily lack of technology, but how are they handling with the technologies that you guys own?
Well, I think actually technology is, every time goes cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Like it's no longer very different, and the government, we've been very lucky that the Colombian government has been very supportive of the industry, of the digital industry. Like I think they did a study back in 2009 or 2010 where they actually studied like all the different industries in the world, and sort of trying to look for the one where Colombia could actually be competitive. And I think they realized digital and creative industries is one of them.
Yeah.
Because, like you mentioned, sometimes creative industries, it's not only about the technology, where other countries are far beyond, but sometimes it's about imagination and creativity. So I think the government has been really pushing for that, and they have incentives in terms of technology, where there's no taxes for like computers, and no taxes, for example, right now there's no taxes for online courses, so you don't pay taxes for that. I think the rendering, like the technology keeps getting better for render farms online. So I think there's also local, like you mentioned, there's always people finding out ways. I know there's a guy here, he has a store of computers, but he works for data centers, but he loves animation. So he also invests a lot in computers for like rendering for animation, and he's been so helpful in the industry. Like he's been such a part of it. Yeah, and it's incredible. Like it's just because he's passionate. Like he has helped if there's an animation project, like a big animation project here, he's involved, and he puts the machines and allows the creators to create. And it's not even part of his business because he has another business, but it's that type of thing that the community helps itself.
The passion.
Okay, first of all, I think here in Chile, the prices of electronics and all the things that we need for producing animation, they're not that expensive as in other Latin American countries. It's very cheap compared with Colombia, I think. Yeah. No, the taxes are not that high. And well, I think we've always been like that in Latin America, like resourceful, because we didn't have all the machines or the software that we needed to develop things. But I don't think right now we are in that state in Latin America, in Chile. I think computers are very cheap. Open source software is gaining lots of adepts, like Blender and all the compositing software are for free. Lots of them are for free, and so I don't think we are like more resourceful than before. I think like maybe 15 years or 10 years ago we were resourceful, and now we're very like corporate. Like all the studios. Trying to make, to buy the software, and well, there is a thing. Lots of like beginning studios, like very small ones, are making like partnership with universities. Mm-hmm. So lots of in the beginning stage of development, there is a kind of being resourceful, because they lend the computers and the rooms, and the students, the just graduated students go and work with the studios. That's the only thing that I feel is kind of original or resourceful, but in terms of software or hardware, we're not that much because the prices are not too high.
But I want to ask you a very, very interesting question, especially because I had the chance to see some of the projects that you had been presenting on your website, Hernando. There's one in particular which is a beautiful, very short animation that shows children in different regions of Colombia with using technology. Do you think, number one, there's a will to show what we really are in Latin America, and number two, is there a unique aesthetic that is coming out of finding our own roots?
That was an amazing project that I had a chance of working on. It was part of a Sesame Street series that was being done in allegiance with the government, with the Ministry of Technology. They did a special, I think it was a couple of episodes of teaching kids and talking about technology. Again, the government is very focused on that. So this was something that was going to go out. The government throughout Colombia, gave children tablets and computers. And so this series of Sesame Street was going to be in those computers. So it was talking to them about that. And so when they approached me with that, I actually had the chance of writing the script. And one of the things was definitely, I think every country has its own strengths. And I think the strength of Colombia is the mix of cultures. Mm-hmm. And not only like in Colombia, because in Colombia we have so many different cultures and mixing, but also in Latin America, like we in Colombia sort of get influences from all over Latin America. And I think that's one of our strengths, sort of being open to that mix and to that influence. And so yeah, the short is going through every region, showing that. So I also think like the more you do research, I always approach animations that way, like doing a lot of research about the things, and eventually the aesthetic will be something organic or something rooted in that culture. So yeah, we did a lot of research, and I always believe in that. Like if we're doing something about Colombia, we should research what's here, the different regions, Colombian art. Yeah, so yeah, I believe that.
We are looking for our contents, our stories told in our way, with our music, with our colors, if we have colors, you know, like to but this is very assured, because when you apply for a you know, to make a short film, you know, the government or the Council of Arts is helping our culture to be alive, you know. So most of the short films that we do, which are the main cultural product in animation that we do, most of them are about our culture or our history, you know. So and we see the colors of the skins of the characters, and we see the foods they are eating, or the places, or you know, the sets, the virtual sets of the short films, and you recognize it as Chilean. So I think this will preserve.
Here in Colombia, our animation programs, you see the people working a lot on things that look like feature animations from the United States, or you see them like based on that. But I've always been an advocate of trying to do research and trying to do, well, I mean, if you're gonna do it about that, okay, but whatever you do it on, really research. Don't copy the surface of other things, but go deep into what you're working on. And I think if you do good research, you'll eventually come up with something original, because it's an art form, and it's the way you see things and what you see that changes.
Cristian,
that happens.
Remember, we grew up in Colombia reading Condorito. So there's a precedent, there's something, and then I was very happy to see that Condorito had been made into a 3D movie. which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
really, we all know the characters of Condorito. For those of you who don't know who Condorito is, please Google him. I'm going to try to add an image of Condorito. He's like
Yeah.
our superhero in Latin America, and the characters, and they represent us as Latin Americans. So this is
You know
going
the
to
story
be.
of Condorito?
Please tell me.
You know what? It's a fantastic story, and it involves animation. You know, Walt himself came in a tour to Latin America and made a series of short films depicting personalities or things from Latin America.
Yeah.
And when he came to Chile and Argentina, the character he created for both countries was a plane trying to cross the Andes.
Uh-huh.
And the creator of Condorito was mad at him, said how he dares to represent us as a plane that cannot, do things. This doesn't represent us. And out of this sense of he was enraged by being represented for someone that didn't understand our personality and things. And then out of that, he created a condor, which he thought that is very representative of Latin America.
And it represents us. We all speak the same language. We use the plop.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, it has become a standard for us. Colombia is actually a merging point between the tango and coming from the south and the ranchera coming from Mexico, and it's a melting point. And we even get some samba from Brazil, which is and salsa from New York. So it's like a very interesting melting point. So do you guys think we are ready to have SIGGRAPH Latin America, including, like a big chapter of the big conference involving everybody, every single country, Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking country? Are we ready to start launching a SIGGRAPH, or what is it that we need to do to create like the big conference for Latin American Spanish-speaking countries and creators, and Portuguese-speaking creators?
Well, I think it's been something that's been talked about with SIGGRAPH as well. Here's the thing that we need, that I think are the main obstacles. First, definitely the SIGGRAPH that we've done in Bogota, and I know the SIGGRAPH in Chile is also like that. It's focused more on the industry and in animation. And I know SIGGRAPH, it's more interested, of course, in research and papers and paper reviews. So I think that needs to be strengthened. Mm-hmm. We definitely do have that, but that needs to be strengthened a lot. I think in order for it to be a SIGGRAPH Latin America, we would have to be able to do like a call for papers, and the community of academics needs to be stronger. Mm-hmm. Which is, again, unfortunately, that's not my background, so that's why Bogota has sort of gone the path of more like animation and the industry. But I think that's one of the things, for starters, for a SIGGRAPH Latin America. The other thing is, surprisingly, and we've talked about this with Cristián, surprisingly, it's more expensive for people in Chile to travel to Colombia, sometimes from Argentina to Colombia, than from Argentina to the States, or from Chile to the States. It's still we have a lot of barriers geographically, even though we're close by. The tickets are still expensive, and people in Latin America, we don't have the same sort of purchasing power than in the States, so it's not as easy to travel from country to country. So even if we do like a SIGGRAPH Latin America, it would be really hard for attendees to travel from other countries.
Yep.
Well, I think the research focus of SIGGRAPH in the main SIGGRAPH. Well, this is a thing that it cannot be created out of nothing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if it was possible to make a SIGGRAPH like with the things with the industry and the research community, it could be done, even though there was very few papers from Latin America, because SIGGRAPH is inspiration too. So if our researchers or soon-to-be researchers go and see that it's possible, same thing with the industry, it could be possible. The first ones to be like that, to all over the world, people from everywhere to bring their papers, like in Asia too. In Asia, it's not just Asian papers.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
So the same thing in Latin America. But I agree with Hernando. We've been talking about this because it's beautiful. The idea of having a Latin America SIGGRAPH is beautiful in itself. Like the union of our countries. But I think that's the main obstacle is how to convince people mainly from Chile, which is because we are the last country. We are the southern
all the way
one.
down there.
Yeah, all the way down to buy like $600 or $700 ticket to attend to SIGGRAPH.
Yeah.
And plane tickets.
Yeah, plane ticket. Yeah, and then to spend maybe $1,000 attending in an industry which is still growing.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll have like 20 people that can afford that. But this 20 people is not making a difference. We have to...
that's it. That's if it's done in Colombia. But say if we do it 1 year in Chile, how about people from Mexico traveling to Chile? Or if it's done in Mexico, it's still expensive to travel. Like even for speakers, surprisingly enough, again, we end up paying more for speakers that come from Latin America than speakers that come from the US. Which is crazy.
If we want to make something like that to happen, maybe it's a thing like every SIGGRAPH in Chile is like a government, some effort along with the governments of the countries, some South America or Pacific Alliance. That Pacific Alliance would be nice. It's Mexico's, Peru's, Colombia's, and Chile, something like that. I think would be possible. But yeah, it's better to have the first one in a country which already has lots of people involved, like I think in Bogota, which you haven't been there, Santiago.
No.
It's huge.
No.
It's massive. You don't believe how many people attend. I don't believe.
Do you guys know anything about Mexico? Do you have any connections with Mexico?
Yes, definitely. Like in everything else, it's a strong industry in its own. They don't even have to depend on other. For example, there's a big studio there, Anima Studios, they make films, feature films, for the Mexican market, and they earn money. They earn a lot of money just in Mexico. They don't need, which is very different from countries like Colombia or Chile, where the markets are so small that if you were to create a feature film, you would need it to be seen throughout Latin America to actually make a return. But this in Mexico, they have such a big market that they can sort of live on their own, and also they're so close to the US that the influence is bigger, and they're years ahead, definitely. Like the quality of the animation there, the studios, they're very strong.
And we have to use them as leaders. We share so much culture and language and everything that they may be able to spearhead the revolution.
Of course, I think they do. I think a lot of people from Colombia, for example, I know, end up going to studios in Mexico to work there, and I think they do already.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Cristian and Hernando. This has been an enlightening conversation, and I hope all our friends all over the world are going to be able to enjoy. And of course, we will have your information on the blog. Please visit their websites, contact them, be in touch with all of us because we're passionate about what we're doing. Thank you again, and stay in touch. Thank you.